Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of the Pickleball Crew. We are a group of pickleball fanatics based in southeast Louisiana and are passionate about all things pickleball everywhere. Our focus is to inform, acknowledge those who help build the game regionally, and promote tournaments in our area. We do our best to present this with a love of the sport, a sense of humor, and a lot of fun. So join Vicki Wynn, Ken Wynn, Jeff Fuchsia, and me, Bud Klein, in our latest episode. We are glad you are along for the ride. This week, the crew is back in studio to discuss what we think are 5 important skills beginning and intermediate players need to drill on and become proficient at if they want to advance to the next level. We'll get our usual Burr Under My Saddle from Jeff, a shout out from Vicki, and tournament previews from Ken. Don't miss this episode.
We kind of threw some things around on what we wanted to discuss on today's podcast and what we kind of came up with as a group, mainly speaking about beginning and intermediate players, 5 things that we think they need to work on as far as a drilling situation. I personally did not have somebody the first year to tell me these things. I wish I would have had it, but we think it's the 5 most important things for new players and intermediate players to work on. And that's what we're going to discuss in today's show. So I guess we can get into it. The first thing that we thought was really important was serve and return. Why is this so important? It's the first 2 shots of the game. So of the beginning of every point, actually. So if you can't execute these, then you can't really get started and try to move on to any other shots. So try to work serves and returns. We always say that's kind of our gimmies, our free throws, our layups. Work on a consistent serve, getting the ball in, and consistent returns.
Well, I personally can't tell you how much trouble those 2 things have caused me in my pickleball journey. If you hit a shallow, soft serve, the person on the other side, if they've got a good return, they're going to hit it at you hard and deep. Same thing on a return. If you don't get it back deep, they're going to come back at you. I can't tell you how many times Ken catches me with that cross-court return of serve that just kills me. I mean, it's just, so I think it's very important.
Well, and this is something you work on in stages, right? Initially, you want to be getting 95% of your serves just in the box. And then you can work on getting them deep, consistently deep in that in the last 3 to 5 feet of the court. And once you're consistent at getting them deep, then you can start to, one of the best things to do is to move your opponent around with your serve. So your serve isn't predictable. So it's kind of step 3 then. Hey, I'm consistent. I'm getting them deep. Now let me try to be able to hit closer to the tee, into the corner, and maybe a little up the side a little bit. And just, so now I become consistent with deep serves and at 3 possible locations on the court. And look, if you're getting 95% or more of your serves in and you can place it in different spots, you've got a lot going for you from a serve standpoint, in my opinion.
So as far as a drill is concerned, we worked on for quite some time just depth. And I think if you put cones out, markers out, something that you have as a visual target, you can aim for those things. And then I don't know if you guys remember me also setting up diagonal margins for ourselves to cover both of the corners of that box. So in other words, if you're headed, you want to try to pull them out of the court, you would make your diagonal that way. And so we worked on those things with our cones, and I think everybody really got a lot out of that. And again, you're working on consistency, but you're also working on having those visual targets that you can aim for and know that you can hit it. So there again, depth is always important, but if you can do it and hit it behind a certain point, so hitting those 2 corners like Ken is saying and get it deep enough, that's a real struggle for somebody. And like you're saying, it's the first 2 hits of the game, and that serve and that return, if you can hit those same targets with your return, that serve and that return can set off the tone of the whole point. If my goal is always to try to push them back, and especially when the server has a tendency to step in, if you can watch for those things, and that's a bad habit for a lot of people, a lot. Even my partner today got caught probably twice stepping into the court, and the ball came right at his feet. So those are things that your opponent's looking for, and if you can practice pushing the other person back, you already have an advantage on that point.
Well, the nice thing about this is you can work with a partner on one person serving and one person work on return a serve, and you go through a bucket of balls and then you swap roles. So this is a nice tandem set of drills that you can work on both the serve and the return of serve with another partner. You don't have to play a game. You're just really working on the mechanics.
Get you some markers, get you some kind of, it doesn't even have to be anything fancy. I mean, I bought rubber strips, and at one point in time, we were all using the rubber strips to put those down to make our own target. Chalk is another good thing. You're right. And just challenge yourself to hit those spots.
Vicki, you just made the point, was your positioning when you're receiving serve and when you're serving. I see a lot of people when they're returning serve, they're standing inside the baseline instead of staying back. They're serving and they're stepping in. And I try to tell people it's a lot easier to come in and hit the ball than it is to try to step back and hit the ball. So I think your initial positioning when you're returning serve is really important.
And we do that a lot, Bud. We mess that up a lot. It's something that you have to constantly focus on. Playing against different skill level players, some players don't have that. To play a game against two weaker players and get used to standing on the baseline and then jump in that next match with some players that really put some depth on their returns, you're fixing to be in bad position. Wind blowing one way or the other can affect that. If you're downwind, you better give some more room. It's something that it's the beginning of each point. It's something that we need to focus on more often, because we do see a lot of that, and we're included in that mistake for sure.
The only thing I was going to mention too on return is, and Bud mentioned it, that Ken does it, and you're thinking strategy wise, if you can get really good at that angle return, you're pulling one of the players out of the picture. The other person is going to have to move further in to try to help cover the court until they make their way back. And once again, right quick, you have control. So that's a nice return to be able to practice and try to master, because, and I can't say you should use it every time. I think the numbers would be against you, but that's a nice weapon to have when you're trying to set yourself and set your partner up for a really quick point.
Now we're going to move on to number 2 that we really feel is important for intermediate and beginning players. Start figuring out from the get-go third shot drops, but also third shot drive, fifth shot drops, to try to transfer you and your partner from the baseline up toward the kitchen. When I first started playing that first year, I heard drop shot till I was blue in the face, and people were right about that, but I never heard about third shot drive, fifth shot drop. And those two things are our modes of transportation to get us to the line where we can even, when you're the serving team, where you can even the playing field to play 50-50 pickleball. So what's some of y'all's thoughts on this, y'all?
Well, as far as the drill is concerned, definitely keep drilling and drill and drill and drill. We all still need to drill our third shot drop. I mean, it is. And like this morning, even we did cross court third shot drop, which a lot of times people don't even think about that. When they think of a third shot drop, they just think they need to get it over and get it straight. But you have more real estate going cross court. So that's just as important to drill, doing your drops cross court. But I would say repetition, 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 and it should never get old doing those third shot drops. However, in those cases when you're in a match, and you don't have the confidence. It took me a long time to have any confidence at all. You guys know that very well on that third shot drop. But again, going back and then practice drive, figure out where you need to move, if at all, because there's where court positioning is going to be extremely important, because that ball could come back to you just as hard as you sent it. And then figuring out how to do that fifth shot drop. So again, those are things to practice in drills. Have somebody just send you a bunch of balls and keep going at it, because that repetition is very, very important.
And one of the things I would say about the drive is don't try to hit the ball as hard as you can. That doesn't necessarily mean that's a drive. To me, a drive is with pace, but it's flat. It's not up in the air. It's low over the net, but it forces the person on the other side to at least block the ball back.
But
I see a lot of players, they just want to rear back and hit the ball as hard as they can, and you just don't have that much control.
I want to make a point on that, Bud. You're absolutely right. We don't want to hit our drives at 100%, but that's another, I guess it was misinformation on how they were describing it. I always heard 70, 80% on your drives.
Yeah.
But y'all, I've learned in the last year, especially in the last 6 months, as my drive is coming along and getting better, sometimes you got to drive that ball at 40, 50%. If you're off balance, it's kind of the drop drive that we've talked about. All you're trying to do is get that ball over the net and get it to where it's going down toward their knees. It can be a 40% shot, and they're still hitting up on the ball. Then they bump it back at you or come back at you, and now your drop is from a much closer point on the court to finish getting up to the net. So, yeah, that's real important. That's another kind of misinformation that I got early on. People were trying to help me, but and when you're an intermediate beginning player, you kind of take a lot of it to heart because you don't know any better.
Very true. And it's great to search out somebody's help that really knows what they're doing. Search out a coach, get a few lessons, and that information makes a big difference in your game. I mean, you think about how you're saying you didn't hear it. We didn't hear it either. And not only that, we were at it a long time before you started to hear those things. So there's a lot more information out there now, videos and that sort of thing. And there's a lot more certified coaches all in the area too. So.
Yeah, I think anytime you're stepping on the court with the intent of drilling, that ought to be one of them, is that somebody's feeding you balls to the baseline or in the transition zone, and you're just going to try to drop them back over. And you're not going to master it until you do it over and over and over. It's not going to happen playing rec ball. Even if you play every day, I don't think you're ever going to really get proficient at a third shot drop by just playing.
One thing that Vicki and I have done when using our ball machine, but you can do it when somebody's feeding you, is we put our basket inside the no volley zone right across the net, so that we have a target. This is another case where a target can really be helpful in third shot drops. You put the target at different locations, and now you've got you're dropping with intentionality. You're really not just trying to get it over the net, but you're trying to get it over in a location too, and that can be helpful in drilling. At least we found it is.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, and just to further that point along, Ken, and I noticed it today, Vicki, when we were doing cross court drops, and I was working with Tom Monty. I got into a rhythm with him where I was putting the ball in the same spot. Okay. And then he got into a rhythm with me, and he was hitting drops. And I mean, you said, hey, time's up. And me and Tom went for another minute before we missed. Okay. And it was both of us getting that repetition, me not doing too much with it from the non-volley zone line, putting it back at him at the baseline, not doing too much, hitting it out, hitting it wide, and also not trying to be competitive with him. As far as in that drilling context, just trying both of us to get that repetition in. And that's been big, and I've seen that improve with our drill group as we've worked on getting more and more control.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, and it is a rhythm. It's nice to be able to have those times when it's just one ball. You're not chasing balls. Both
Exactly.
parties are doing what they need to be doing.
Yeah.
And you can get by for a long time with one ball, which is nice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
while there's no exact rules of thumb, I think it's kind of recommended. And even in drills, if you're practicing your drives, you're practicing more of a straight head-on shot. If you're practicing your drops, you've got a little more real estate for an angled drop. So you're kind of going more cross court with your drops. There are times that you're going to hit the opposite, an angled drive and a straight on drop. But I think to get a little extra real estate and reduce your or increase your margin of success, you go with a cross court drop.
Yep.
And I think another thing that you can actually, we do another drill that you can even take it one step further in moving around and learning how to do those drops from multiple different spots. And that is, you said, again, targets for the feeder to try to hit those targets, and those targets make you move around the court, and you do nothing but hit drops from all over the court. And I think that's a really good one to do too and master, because you don't always know where the ball, it's not always going to be just like we're just talking in that rhythm and somebody feeding you perfectly all the time. Those are good for your third shot drops and for consistency's sake and accuracy's sake. But again, you get into a match, it's not going to necessarily come to you that way. So it's good to
Right.
practice having somebody feed you some balls all over the place.
Yeah. Okay, that's good stuff on number 2. All right, number 3. And we got 5 of these coming, so we got 3 more coming. But number 3 to me is kind of the centerpiece. And in my opinion, when we start talking about this, I think it's probably the most important thing that you can do. And number 3 is dinking. A lot of people, when they hear dinking, just the sound of it sounds like, oh, that's not real important. But and Vicki, you center your drills. We do a lot of stuff softly hitting dinks to specific spots. I think that dinking and practicing your dinking and practicing with some intention on where you're putting the ball helps in your touch all over the court. Because if I'm dinking straight up with somebody and then I back up a step and I hit a dink and then I back up a step all the way to the baseline, now I'm dinking, but I'm just hitting a long drop shot. So it is in my opinion, the basis of getting your feel and your touch in the game of pickleball. And I think if you really focus on dinking, I think it helps your game all over the court. What y'all think about that?
Well, the biggest thing is dinking is not head to head. You have to be purposeful when you practice your dinks. You have to think about placing and being proficient at placing the ball where you want to place it and not just getting it over the net. So I think that the variety of drills that we do just in dinking every time we drill is improved my game exponentially.
Dinking with a purpose.
That's it.
Dinking with a purpose. Every drill that Vicki sends us through, there is an end goal there. Vic, when we first started with that group, I remember when it was dink time, everybody was kind of standing around talking, catching up on last week's, hey, this is not really that important. Now when we're dinking, people are getting down and getting ready. They don't want to miss.
That's right.
It's got some purpose to it. So
Absolutely. And the practice of getting more competitive with it makes those slower times even that much more important. Mm-hmm.
with the whole time that I'm from the warm up to the last thing we do dink wise, I don't want to miss not one dink. I don't want to miss. I want to get it back over, and I want to make the person that I'm dinking with, I want them to miss if we're going to miss. I don't want it to be me.
Right.
And I've tried to take it that serious every single time. And I mean, I'm not saying my dinking is the greatest in the world because it still needs to get better, but it has come a long ways.
Well, I
I
think there
don't-
are 4 dinks that you have to get proficient at. That is being able to stand face to face with somebody and dinking to their forehand, dink to their backhand, and then go cross court, same thing. Dink to the forehand,
Yeah.
dink to the backhand.
Yeah.
The dink is not just get it over the net. It's you got to be able to move the person around, and I think that's really important when you're practicing dinking.
Yeah. 4 targets. You just named 4 targets, 4 dinks with a purpose.
Yep.
For sure.
That's right. And we work a lot on hitting the back foot. So in other words, if the person is turned a certain way, learn to go behind them because it's not so easy for them to get it. So there's a lot of strategy there that you can practice by just learning to do just what Bud is talking about, forehand, backhand, moving the other person around, and even pushing a little further towards their feet. There's a lot of strategy there. And until you perfect getting it over consistently, it gets a little tough. But again, doing drills and doing them with targets is another way to make this happen.
I think dinking is the most underappreciated drill. It's almost the drill
Yeah.
that you're warming up to get to the real drills.
Yeah.
But dinking is something that we all need to work on to master, because when the rubber meets the road, if you can't stay past 10 dinks with somebody moving you around, then you need to get back out there and hit several hundred balls on a daily basis to get your dinking to the next level. That's one. Two is the one thing about dinking that I find has helped me is I catch the ball low. I really bend and I try to catch the ball just off the bounce. And I think I have more control than standing up waiting for the ball to come to me. So you almost want to bend and go down and meet the ball. And I felt like I've had more success approaching it that way.
Yeah, and it's another thing that doesn't get talked about in dinking. 90-some% of the time when somebody misses a dink, it's poor footwork.
I was just going to say that while you're
Very
drilling
true.
and dinking, don't stay in one spot. You have to move around. When you get moved to the side, you've got to make that dink back and then get back in position. You can't just stand where you were at and stay in it. And that's been one of the things that I've really tried to work on, is just really staying in position after, or getting back to the proper position after you make that dink. Don't just stand there and admire it.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's easy to do when you're practicing, when you're drilling, because you're drilling to the same place over and over and over to get proficient at it, and you get lazy and you don't move back into the position you should be. You just stand there and dink back and forth. So I think don't just think about dinking, think about your footwork and your positioning after you dink.
Yeah. That's good
And
stuff.
your legs are important in dinking too. It's using your legs to help lift that ball up and over the net. I mean, if you watch the pros, not only are they catching down low, but they're actually using their legs too, as much as their arm, to kind of lift and position that ball.
And we talk a lot about the catch and send. I mean, we had drills where we worked on that. And I think those drills were very good at slowing everybody down, but also teaching them that it's you're taking that person's power back, you're catching and you're sending. So in a way, it kind of helps you calm yourself down. And then it also gives you that time to be intentional with that dink, like y'all are talking about. So I think there's a lot to it, but I think the body and the footwork and everything else and your position, it's all important. Very, very important.
For those who don't know what catch and send is, you're actually catching the dink on your paddle, and in a way you're bouncing it straight up to yourself to then hit it with that second shot back to the direction of where you want to send the dink. So you're working on control. That's control and touch right there.
A lot of touch.
Yeah, and on the back end of this, for some of our more advanced players that are watching this, that are looking for some little tip, some little cue to improve their game, you got way more time than what you think you have.
Absolutely.
And when you open up Vicky, you try to put it on my right leg, and I open that leg back and pivot back. Now I'm creating that space, and I just want to pause instead of rushing my dink and then come back with it. I try to focus on that when I'm drilling dinking, not getting in a hurry. There'll be a time to get in a hurry when the old firefight breaks out. But when you're dinking the ball, when you're in the middle of a dink rally and the ball's coming slow, you got plenty of time to place your shot. So I would think about that when I'm drilling dinking also. Tons of time. Moving on to number 4, resetting the pickleball. If I'm a new or a new or an intermediate player just starting out, I wish somebody would have told me this. When the ball, everybody knows what to do when the ball's above the net, when the ball's high. It's hit the ball hard, which is fun. We all love doing it, going for that put away shot. But when the ball is below the net, don't swing at that ball most of the time. Reset that ball back into the kitchen. And I'm talking about if you're at the non-volley zone line, if you are at the mid-court transition zone, or if you're just inside the baseline. If that ball is coming low, try to reset that ball back into the kitchen and work on that from all spots on the court. What y'all think about resetting? Excuse me.
I think resetting is an extremely important skill to have and skill to practice as you're moving up from that, especially from 3-5 to 4-0. You're going to need to know how to do that on a much more regular basis, not just every now and then somebody blasts the ball to you and you can block it at the net. It's a lot more than that, and it is especially from that transition zone. With higher level players on the opposite side, you're going to get caught more often in the transition zone. You won't have as much time to get to the no volley line like you do with rec play or lower players, higher level players. The ball's coming faster and you're not going to have enough time. So you really do need to know how to do that. Again, taking that power back, take the power away a little bit, slow it down and send it back so that you give yourself and your partner enough time to get to that no volley line. So that was a big enlightenment for myself and my partner. We came out of our first 4-0 tournament, and that was the first words out of our mouths. We need to learn how to reset.
Well, and Vicky, you saying that resetting is the best way, in my opinion, to not come home with too many pickleball tattoos. If you can reset that ball as much as possible back into the kitchen where it's not attackable, you're not going to be under fire as much. So it's a very important skill for pickleball, but for your health.
Right.
Yeah, definitely. A good transition definitely gets you back in the point and helps transfer you back from defense into an offensive position.
Yes, but
especially when you're at the baseline, people are driving it at you hard. If you can get that transition shot in, you get back up to the net and you're back on offense. You're not on defense anymore.
That's a really good point, bud.
I think resetting, at least for me, has been one of the more challenging shots to learn. You're taking a ball with pace and trying to take all the pace off and have that ball land within the 7 feet on the opposite side of the net. So whether it's off of a bounce, which is a little easier,
yeah,
you're kind of blocking it in a way, or if it's out of the air, to me that's a real challenging reset when you're just kind of meeting the ball and blocking it back over the net. So that's something that is a big work in progress for myself.
Well, you make a good point, Ken, but you've been actively working on it, and you're getting better at taking that ball from your knees out of the air and resetting that ball. Again, I wish we'd have had somebody to tell us this in year 1, year 2. I would probably be a lot better at it than what I am now, if I'd have known sooner. Because you hit the nail on the head. Most people are a lot more taking that ball off the bounce and resetting it, but you're not near as comfortable taking them out of the air. So I would not only work on them off the bounce, I would get people to send balls at my knees and really work on resetting those. Those are the tougher ones. So spend a lot of time on that. But I mean, how many balls come at our knees? A ton of them. So work on resetting that ball out of the air from the knees for sure.
Yeah, and the drill here is stand in the transition zone, have somebody feed you balls.
Yep.
High, low, at your knees, at your feet. Just learn how to do it all. Take it off the bounce, take it out of the air. And again, it's repetition, repetition, repetition. Let it become second nature to you.
Yeah, we did that today, and that was a really good drill. I mean, I really liked that one.
Well, and y'all, everything that we've talked about, not the serve, but drops, dinking, and now resets. Think cross court most of the time. Think cross court most of the time because you have lower net in the center versus down the lines, and you have more room for error. If you get your old geometry books out from what were we in the 10th grade when we took geometry, you would figure out you got a longer distance if you go cross court. So if you make that your shot of choice 75, 80% of the time, hey, you're in business and you're flipping the percentage. We talk about percentages a lot. You're flipping the percentages in your favor if you go cross court on all of these things that we're talking about. All right, that's good stuff on a reset. Okay, fifth and final thing, and this is a big one for that new player, the one that hadn't been playing very long. You walk out on the court and these guys and ladies, they're gonna figure out, hey, I got a new person here. I am fixing to drive this ball at them. Okay, so the fifth thing that I would encourage people to start working on from an early stage in your pickleball career is blocking. Blocking. Too many times, and we see it all the time, and they just don't know any better. I didn't know any better when I started. Somebody drives a ball at you and you're just swinging wild at it. Man, I don't know what to do with this thing. And all it takes is, I call it the Brent Roy effect. Let them drive it at you hard as they want, put your paddle up, and block the ball back. Use their pace against them. I would have loved to have heard this the first year and a half that I played. So what y'all think about blocking?
It's clearly a very important defensive shot that you got to be able to do because, in my opinion, most people, when they start playing pickleball, they want to hit the ball hard. So it takes a lot of time in the pickleball journey before the light finally goes on with most people that pickleball is really a soft game and they want to drive it. And the minute you master blocking those hard shots, they're not going to do it anymore.
They're going to, aren't they, Bud? They're going to test you, aren't they?
Absolutely.
Even at our stage, I'm not saying
I was going to say, yeah.
But at the 4-0 level, people they're gonna try to drive it at you, and if they drive it at you and have success, guess what's coming next?
Yep.
That's right.
Another drive until you prove you can handle it. So the quicker people can get a hold on this and figure out the block thing, I think it's going to really further along your pickleball career at an accelerated rate if you figure this blocking thing out.
Right. The biggest thing to figure out is not to swing.
Yes.
I think, especially a lot of us tennis players, you come on the court, it's again, you want to hit the ball on the side of you and you want to swing. And that is just not, you've got to realize that with pickleball, the majority of shots that you're hitting should be all in front of you. And that they don't require, just like he's saying, they don't require a big hit. They don't require a big old wind up and a big old swing. They just do not. And especially with a block.
Yeah.
It's going to go out of the park if you do.
When you're up at that no volley zone, like Vicki said, the game is played in front of you. But by taking a swing, you're not ready for the next shot. By blocking it, you're ready. Whether it's a backhand block or forehand block, you kind of in a way stay in a ready position for what comes next. So,
well, what I was going to say, Ken, and when I'm coaching people, I say this all the time to them. I don't care where you're at on the pickleball court. In most instances, I am in the ready position and I am thinking block, block, block. Now, if the ball comes slower, then I can come off a block and I can counterattack or come down on the ball, whatever you need to do. But if I'm sitting there thinking the whole time, counterattack, 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 and they catch me off guard and the ball gets to me too quick, it's a lot harder to go from, hey, I was going to counterattack or swing at it, to now I'm going to try to go to block. So just as a general, I know sometimes you see a shot and you're thinking counterattack, but I think a good general rule, especially for beginners and intermediate players, is I'm always thinking that ball's coming fast, and then I'm ready for the fast ball versus lull to sleep, slow, and then it comes fast, and it's like throwing a cup of gas in your face. So think fast, think block, 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 and then if the ball comes slower, then you have time to do something else with it.
Agreed.
I agree.
What about drills, Vic? What you got on that?
Well, again, we just stand at the net and feed those balls to each other. And one person at the baseline feeding the ball to the other person at the net, and just fire away. Fire as many as you can. Send forehand, backhand, a little lower, a little higher, but just give the person a ton of practice just doing nothing but blocking the ball.
Hey, if you got a ball machine,
Just thinking the same thing.
set that sucker up, set it up in
Mhm.
the air, aim it that high above the net, and let it fire away, and just sit there and handle that pace. And over time, you'll learn to trust your hands more and more. So we want to block mostly with our backhand, but sometimes when it goes kind of outside of the shoulder, we can turn and go with a block, on our forehand side. But Holly said it. Holly Smith was on with us a couple weeks ago. She said that she just got people to just fire the ball at her. She set up a ball machine, had it fire at her, just coming in hot, and she just block, block, block. And then once you develop that skill, you will get some people off of you. When you show them that you can handle that, then they're going to have to do something else instead of just ravaging you like a poor little rabbit run over in the road.
No doubt. No doubt. I just think that that's, again, the fundamentals are good to understand so that you do it properly. Search out, again, a video on blocks, or ask a coach. Spend some time learning how to do it the right way. And then you can spend the time that you need to drilling with a partner, drilling with a machine. And it takes time. Drilling does take time. And we get it that there's a lot of people who work, have kids, just have lives. So it's kind of hard to dedicate a ton of time to it. But we just promise you that if you pull back just a little bit on the amount of rec play that you're doing and take one of those times per week and do nothing but drill, it will improve your game. There's no doubt about it.
Preach it, Vicky. Preach it, Vicky. Good stuff.
Hey, it's true. I mean, all four of us are proof of the pudding.
Yep, no doubt.
That we would not, I know I would not be the pickleball player I am today if it were not for drilling.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like what I was like a year and a half ago, a rec player, 3.0 at best.
That wanted to be better, Bud, but weren't really sure how to get there. But you've definitely figured it out.
Yep.
I just feel like we're maximizing our potential by as much drilling as we do.
Yeah.
I agree. It's a blast to see the improvement in everybody's games, and just see how effective it really is. It's just been incredible. And we've had to spend some time too. We all need to be honest with ourselves that it took some time for us to realize that we would drill and then we had rec play. And we may have been two different characters in those two different roles. Learning how to focus and take those drills to another step, starting out with the fundamentals of it, mastering the consistency, the accuracy, the cooperative drills, and bring them into more competitive drills. That makes it that much easier to go on the court in rec play or matches, tournament matches, and learning how to put those things to work in those matches without feeling like, I drill on this all week long and I can do it. Why can't I do it in a match? Well, we're working hard on those transitions, and I'm even seeing the difference in that. And it's
Yeah.
really, really nice.
People need to be patient with themselves too, because when you're learning new things, it can take time to incorporate that into the playing situation of actually playing the game. So we've all heard people say, man, I just worked on dinking for 30 minutes and then I had a dink error. Don't be so rough on yourself. When you're putting it all together, you're gonna have some of that happen. So y'all, I was just gonna kind of wrap up. So I'm sure Bud will have these listed, but I want to challenge anybody. This is just 5 things that we came up with that we think are important. Please put in the comments below. Let us know if there's something somebody out there might spurn us to think outside the box, and there's something that we didn't cover. We're definitely not. Again, we're just trying to get people thinking about some things. Just trying to kind of urge people on to think outside the box and not be happy with where you're at. Keep pushing forward. This is a game. This is the one game, especially for people our age, that I think we can continue doing this for a long, long time. And
Mhm.
I don't know of any other sport that I can figure out that I can improve in like this sport. That's why it's triggered something in me, brought that old athlete out that's wanting to get better at things. And I think it's done it for all of us.
That's what's wonderful about pickleball. Pickleball is a sport that if you want to just go out once or twice a week and hit the ball with somebody, that's great. But if you wanna improve and move up, you can do that too. And there are plenty of people on both sides. I mean, it's just such a great game. Not just physically, but mentally and socially. I can't explain how much it's meant to me.
Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with the people out there that don't want to drill.
All right, folks, that was a great discussion. But now it's time to move on. And of course, it's time for Jeff and his Burr Under My Saddle.
You're Burr under my saddle. You're a thorn sticking in my side.
Okay. All right, people. This week's Burr Under My Saddle is concerning rec play. When we're in a rec play situation, of course, all of us, hey, what do we want? We want those really good games, okay? And you deserve those really good games. But I want to encourage people to share the load a little bit. We always got weaker players at rec play. For me, I'm going to give some games to those weaker players and try to get in and play with them. Try to find another good player that'll come out on the court with me and him take one or her take one and me take the other. Everybody share that burden. We got some people out at rec play. All they're concerned about is themselves and getting in those good games. And then there's others of us that are trying to mix in, trying to be good to the group. Now, look, if you got your foursome and you want to go down and get on that end court and the courts aren't full and you want to play with just those 4 people, I'm all for that also. But if it's a rec play situation where everybody needs to mix in my opinion, which our opinion is not the know all see all, I think it's better for our pickleball if everybody kind of shares in taking that load. And that is this week's Burr Under My Saddle.
All right, Jeff, thanks for that Burr Under My Saddle. Good advice. It really is. I think we all need to pay it forward. And now,
Hey, Bud, I've got a shout out. All righty, got one shout out today, and it's one that I kind of missed, and I feel a little bad about it. But I did thank Connie and Steve Garcia, and of course Taylor Garcia. But who I didn't thank that evening was all of our guests, the people who showed up to help support the podcast and wanted to be there for Connie and Steve and meet Taylor. You guys are awesome and we appreciate you. I apologize that I didn't say it that a week ago, but nevertheless, we do appreciate you. We had a great time that night, and so many people came to us afterwards and said how much of a good time they had that night. So we really just want to send it out to you guys. And thank you for being there. Back to you, Bud.
All right, Vicki, thanks for those shout outs. Hot off the press, it's time for Ken's Tournament Previews.
Thanks, Bud. Here we go. Let's start with March 2024. March 2nd, there is the Pickle and Pork at Stone Creek in Covington, Louisiana. Again, it's a long URL. We'll put it at the bottom of the screen. That was a fun tournament the last couple of years. Looking forward to hearing more from that this year. March 3rd and 4th, this is the 2024 Greater New Orleans Senior Games at Coquille Park in Covington, Louisiana. This is for those that are 50 and plus. Gender doubles will be on March 3rd, mixed doubles on March 4th. The deadline is February 23rd. We'll put the URL at the bottom of the screen. March 15th through 17th is the Mississippi Senior Games at Pops Ferry Court, Biloxi, Mississippi. Go to pickleballbrackets.com to register. This is a qualifying year for nationals, which will be held in the summer of 2025, Des Moines, Iowa. There's already 258 people registered. Don't miss out. Also the same weekend, Pelican Park, Mandeville, Louisiana. March 16th and 17th is the Paddles on St. Patty's Day at Pelican Park. We'll put the URL at the bottom of the screen. It's basically Pelican Park's recdesk.com. Registration has opened. Also the same weekend, March 15th through 17th, this is the first annual pickleball tournament at the Graywood Golf and Racquet Club in Lake Charles, Louisiana. Go to pickleballbrackets.com to register. It's $50 per person. There's singles, gender doubles, and mixed doubles. March 22nd through 24th, the Pickle in the Dell. This will be at Cross Gates Club, Slidell, Louisiana. Go to pickleballbrackets.com. Registration has opened. This is one of the longest running pickleball tournaments in St. Tammany Parish, and they do a great job. It's going to be another fun event. Also the same weekend, March 22nd through 24th, this is the Battle at the Beach, Gulf Shores Sportsplex in Gulf Shores, Alabama. These are beautiful permanent outdoor courts that opened in the last couple years. Go to pickleballbrackets.com. There's already 76 people registered for it. We're looking forward to hearing more from that. That should be a great event. The following weekend, March 29th and 30th, is the Alabama Open in Clay, Alabama. Go to pickleballbrackets.com to register. There's over 100 people registered already. Moving to April 6th, is the Miss Mississippi. It's a one-day tournament, mixed doubles only, at Halls Ferry Park in Vicksburg, Mississippi. Go to pickleballbrackets.com to register. The same weekend, April 6th at Pelican Park. This is an exciting format. It's called the All Play All Round Robin. You don't need a partner. We have a long URL. We'll put it at the bottom of the screen, or you can go to Global Pickleball Network and search for the tournament in Mandeville, Louisiana. This tournament, you'll register alone based on your skill level, and you will play with everyone in your skill level as a partner. So it's a kind of a scramble style where you rotate partners. So look, if you're not only a good player, but a good partner, you're going to do well. And the people with the highest points in each of the brackets will then get gold, silver, and bronze. So we're excited about this one. We're really looking forward to it. Vicki and I will be assisting and helping to run this tournament. Also on April 12th through 14th, this is the Hattiesburg Pickleball Classic. This will be at Tatum Park in Hattiesburg, Mississippi. We're looking forward to this. Go to pickleballbrackets.com. There's 136 people registered. Vicki and I are playing in this one. We know a lot of people that are playing in this tournament. It's going to be a good time. This is Marlena Martis is the tournament director, and this is a fundraiser for the Young Life organization and the USM Wesley Foundation. Again, go to pickleballbrackets.com to register. The same weekend, April 12th through 14th, is the Alabama Senior Games in Opelika, Alabama. Go to pickleballbrackets.com to register. It's over 160 people already registered for this. April 20th, 21st, the second annual Dinking in the Delta in Greenwood, Mississippi. Go to pickleballbrackets.com to register. It's $50 per person for that event. Also, April 20th, at Pelican Park in Mandeville. This is this will be put on by Gulf Coast Pickleball. Go to gulfcoastpb.com/tournaments. This is mixed doubles, gender doubles. This should be a good time at Pelican Park. The following weekend, April 28th, Pickleball for a Cure at Fritchie Park Gym in Slidell, Louisiana. We'll put both a phone number and a QR code on the screen for you to scan. Registration has opened, and this is gender doubles and mixed doubles. Pickleball for a Cause. That's moving to May 3rd through 5th. This is the second annual Spring Challenge at the club at the township, Ridgeland, Mississippi. There's already 50 people registered. Go to pickleballbrackets.com. We're looking forward to hearing more about that tournament. The following weekend, May 11th, back at Pelican Park in Mandeville, Louisiana. It's the Heart and Soul Pickleball Tournament at Pelican Park. You're going to have gender doubles, mixed doubles, and a junior scramble. One of the few tournaments with a junior scramble. This is a fundraiser for the mission of the No Heart Left Behind in Mandeville, and Vicki and I are working very closely with them to help put this tournament on. So we're looking forward to really having a good time with this. And it's for a great, great cause. Also in May 18th, 19th, this is the State Games of Mississippi. This will be in Vicksburg, Mississippi at Halls Ferry Park. It's $70 per person, gender doubles on Saturday, mixed doubles on Sunday. Going to August 8th through 11th, this is the second annual NOLA Pickle Fest at the Moriel Convention Center in New Orleans. Go to pickleballbrackets.com. There's over 147 people registered. This is going to be played in the convention center, so you'll have the pickle roll courts. The lighting is great. Of course, the temperature is great. And for early August, it's really, we played last year. It's a great venue. And on Saturday, you'll have Drew Brees and John McEnroe paired with some pros on center court. So if nothing else, head out on Saturday. Bring your paddle too, because there's always an open court for you to jump on. Moving to October 4th through 6th, the Louisiana Senior Games. This will be at the Legacy in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Remember, this is a qualifying year for nationals, which will be the summer of 2025 in Des Moines, Iowa. And finally, October 25th through 27th is the annual Hollow Wheel Tournament. You got to make that one. This is a can't miss. And it's in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Registration opens in early April. Friday is women's doubles, mixed doubles on Saturday, and men's doubles on Sunday. If you have a tournament update or have a new tournament you want to share, I'll put an email address at the bottom of the screen. And that's it for tournament preview. Back to you, Bud.
All right, Ken, thanks for those previews. And now, gang, if nobody has anything else, I think it's time to say goodnight. Good night.
See you on the
court. Hey, from the Pickleball crew, thanks for watching, and we'll see you all next week. Well, that's it for this episode. We hope you enjoyed it. Be sure to leave any comments, and please like and subscribe to our channel. Thanks again, and see you next week.